Quantitative comparison. Qualitative, quantitative, quantitative. Quantitative comparison. Quantitative what, sir? Comparison. Quantitative comparison between growth of living systems, right? Quantitative comparison between growth of living systems, right, may be or can be two kinds or two types. Be careful which comparison this is. Quantitative comparison between growth of living systems can be of how many types? Two types. What's number one? First one is absolute growth rate. What is the first one, sir? Absolute growth rate. Absolute growth rate. Absolute growth rate, right? Sir, in shortcut we are writing this absolute growth rate as AGR, right? And second one is a relative growth rate. What's sir? Relative growth rate. Relative growth rate. Relative growth rate. Shortcut is RGR, that is a relative growth rate. Is it okay? Go for the first one. What's our absolute growth rate? Sir, absolute growth rate. Absolute growth rate means total growth per unit time. What's sir? Total growth. Total growth per what's sir? Unit time. Total growth per unit time. Total growth per unit time. Is it okay? Right? Sir, absolute growth rate. What is the formula for this absolute growth rate, sir? Absolute growth rate is equals to final minus initial. Final minus what, sir? Initial. Final minus initial, right? Now go for what's our relative growth rate. Sir, relative growth rate RGR, right? What it is, sir? Relative growth rate, that is RGR. Relative growth rate is equals to final minus initial, means nothing but total growth per unit time, right? By initial, right, into 100. Is it okay? Right. Therefore, relative growth rate final minus initial by initial into what's 100, right? In our textbook, two diagrams, two leaf diagrams are given. Two leaf diagrams are given, right? Sir, if you see the two leaf diagrams, in first leaf, right, initial size is given as a 5 centimeter square. How much, sir? 5 centimeter square. After a duration of 7 days. After how many days, sir? After a duration of 7 days, this 5 centimeters, it has become 10 centimeter square. Became how much, sir? 10 centimeter square. After a duration of 7 days. It means 1 week. Is it okay? Right. Sir, in this leaf, in this first leaf, what is the absolute growth rate, sir? Absolute growth rate. What is the absolute growth rate, sir? Absolute growth rate means what, sir? Final minus initial. It means 10 centimeter square minus 5 centimeter square. Therefore, becomes how much, sir? It becomes 5 centimeter square. Yes or no? This is concerned to which growth, sir? Absolute growth rate. This is what, sir? It is absolute growth rate. Is it okay? Right. Now go for relative growth rate of this first leaf. relative growth rate of first leaf. Sir, relative growth rate means final minus initial. Final minus initial. Final minus initial by initial into 100. Yes or no? Sir, this becomes how much, sir? 100. How much it becomes, sir? 100. Is it okay? This is for the first leaf. Is it okay? Therefore, for first leaf, right, absolute growth rate is 5 centimeter square, whereas the relative growth rate is how much percent, sir? It's 100%. It's 100%, right? Now, I am taking another leaf, leaf 2, second leaf, right? Taking, right, second leaf, taking second leaf. Sir, in second leaf, the initial size is 50 centimeter square. How much it is, sir? 50 centimeter square. After a duration of 7 days, it means after how many days, sir? 7 days, 1 week, it became 55. Became what, sir? 55 centimeter square. 55 centimeter square. Sir, in this case, in this second leaf, what is absolute growth rate? Absolute growth rate. Absolute growth rate means what, sir? Final minus initial. It becomes how much, sir? It becomes 5 centimeter square. Becomes how much, sir? 5 centimeter square, right? Now go for relative growth rate. What it is? Relative growth rate. Sir, relative growth rate means what, sir? Final minus initial by initial into 100. Yes or no? Sir, it will be how much, sir? 10%. It will be how much? 10%. Is it okay? Now see these two leaves carefully. Sir, in first leaf, in which leaf, sir? In first leaf, right, absolute growth rate is 5 centimeter square. In second leaf also, absolute growth rate is 5 centimeter square. It means absolute growth rate of two leaves is the same. Now go for relative growth rate. Sir, in first leaf, the relative growth rate is 100%, whereas in second leaf, the absolute, in second leaf, the relative growth rate is how much, sir? 10%. Yes or no? Is it okay? Sir, in first leaf, relative growth rate is 100%. In second leaf, relative growth rate is 10%. It means concerned to relative growth rate. Is it okay? Yes or no? Sir, in these two leaves, in which leaf relative growth rate is more, sir? In first leaf, 100%. Is it okay? Right? Therefore, sir, absolute growth rate is the same in both the leaves. 5 centimeter square, 5 centimeter square. Right? Relative growth rate 100%, relative growth rate 10%. Therefore, relative growth rate is more in first leaf compared to which leaf, sir? Second leaf. Is it okay? Right? Right? Therefore, first leaf in, right, first leaf and second leaf. In first leaf and second leaf, right, absolute growth rate. Absolute growth rate is same. Absolute growth rate is same. How much it is? It is 5 centimeter square. Yes or no? Right? Whereas, sir, first leaf. In first leaf, right, relative growth rate. In first leaf, the relative growth rate is 100%. Yes or no? Therefore, first leaf relative growth rate more than what, sir? Relative growth rate. Relative growth rate of which leaf, sir? Second leaf. Because in second leaf, the relative growth rate is how much, sir? It is only 10%. It is only how much, sir? 10%. Is this statement okay? Right? Now go for the next topic. That is conditions of growth or conditions for growth. What are the conditions that are required for growth? Right? Sir, what are the conditions that are required for growth, sir? Number one, first one. Sir, nutrients. What? Nutrients, right? Next, number 2. We are discussing conditions, right, of growth or conditions for growth, right? What are the first one, sir? Number 1, nutrients. What, sir? Nutrients. Right. Number 2, second one is right, oxygen. What is the second one, sir? Oxygen. And third one is water. What, sir? Water. Right. Go for the first one. What, sir? Nutrients. Sir, here nutrients means both macro as well as micro. We are taking both macro elements as well as what, sir? Micro elements. Macro elements as well as micro elements. Sir, these nutrients, they are used for synthesis of protoplasm. Right, nutrients used for what, sir? Synthesis. Used for synthesis of what, sir? Protoplasm. Used for synthesis of protoplasm. Is it okay? Right. Number 2. Sir, these nutrients, they are source of energy. Nutrients are what, sir? They are source of energy. Who are source of energy? Nutrients. Who are used for synthesis of protoplasm? Nutrients. Right. Number 2. Go for second one. What, sir? Water. Go for water. Okay. Number 2. Go for oxygen. Now listen here. Sir, how this oxygen is used for growth, sir? Sir, growth requires energy. Yes or no? That energy is released by the oxidation of food materials. That oxidation of food materials requires what, sir? Oxygen. Therefore, oxygen required. Oxygen required for what? Oxidation. Oxidation of food materials. Oxygen is required for what? Oxidation of food materials. When food is oxidized, what is released? Energy is released. When food oxidized, what is released, sir? Energy is released. When food oxidized, energy released. Sir, this energy released, right, is utilized. Utilized for what, sir? Growth. This energy released is utilized for growth. Is it okay? Therefore, oxygen is required for growth. Why, sir? To carry out growth, energy is required. That energy is released by the oxidation of food materials. That oxidation of food materials requires what, sir? Oxygen. Is it okay? Right. Go for the third one. What it is, sir? Water. Sir, take a cell. If water enters into the cell, entry of water into the cell, then what happens to the cell? The cell becomes turgid, bulges. Yes or no? Sir, cell is bulging means its size is going to increase. Increase in size means nothing but growth. Yes or no? Right? Therefore, sir, entry of water. Entry of water where? Right, into cell. If water enters into the cell, what happens, sir? Cell becomes turgid. Cell becomes turgid. It means that cell bulges. Cell swells. Yes or no? Swelling of the cell means the cell size increases. Cell size increases. Sir, increase in size means nothing but what, sir? Growth. Yes or no? Increase in size means nothing but what, sir? Growth. Is it okay? Right. Now listen this statement. Sir, to carry out growth, enzymes are required. For that enzymes, water acts as medium. Is it okay? Right. Therefore, water acts as medium. Water acts as a medium. Water acts as a medium for what, sir? Enzymes. For enzymes which are required for growth. Sir, what are required for growth, sir? To carry out growth, right, enzymes are required. Is it okay? For that enzymes, water acts as what, sir? Medium. Therefore, water acts as medium for enzymes which are required for growth. Is this statement okay? Right? Conditions of growth or conditions for growth, right? Sir, in addition, right, in what, sir? In addition, each and every plant, in addition, each and every plant, right, requires an optimum temperature. Requires an optimum temperature. How much it is? 20 to 35 degrees Celsius for growth. Listen this statement carefully. Sir, in addition to nutrients, oxygen and water, what more is required for growth, sir? Is this statement okay? Sir, in addition, right, in addition to nutrients, oxygen and water, what more is required for growth, sir? Optimum temperature. Each and every plant, right, each and every plant requires an optimum temperature, that is 20 to 35 degrees Celsius for what, sir? Growth. Is it okay? Right? Any deviation from this optimum temperature, any deviation from this what? Optimum temperature. Any deviation from this optimum temperature may be detrimental to survival of plant. Detrimental may leads to death of the plant. Is it okay? Right? Therefore, any deviation from this optimum temperature may be detrimental to survival of what, sir? May be detrimental to survival of the plant. Is it okay? Right? Sir, environmental signals. What? Environmental signals. Environmental signals such as light and gravity. Such as what and what, sir? Light and gravity. Right? Sir, environmental signals such as light and gravity, they influences certain stages or certain phases of growth. Is it okay? Right? Therefore, environmental signals such as light and gravity, right, influences certain stages or certain phases of growth. Certain stages or certain phases of what, sir? Growth. Is this statement okay? Right? For example, right, take root. Sir, root grows in which manner? Root grows in a positively geotrophic manner. Yes or no? Root grows in positively geotrophic manner. Positively geotrophic manner. It means movement of root is in the direction of gravitational force. Movement of root is in the direction of gravitational force. Sir, take a stem. Sir, stem grows in which manner, sir? It is growing in positively phototrophic manner. Positively phototrophic manner. Yes or no? Growing in which manner? Positively phototrophic manner. It means the stem is growing in the direction of sunlight. Growing in the direction of what, sir? Sunlight. Is this statement okay? Therefore, root grows in positively geotrophic manner. It means root is growing in the direction of gravitational force, whereas stem grows in positively phototrophic manner. It means the stem is growing in the direction of sunlight. So take a photoperiodism. What, sir? Photoperiodism. What is the meaning of photoperiodism, sir? Take a plant. If this plant wants to produce flowers, if a plant wants to produce what, sir? Flowers, this plant requires right daytime as well as what, sir? Night time. Is it okay? To produce flowers, a plant requires daytime as well as night time, right? Sir, the relative influence of daytime and night time on flowering of a plant is called as photoperiodism. The relative influence of daytime and night time on flowering of a plant is called as photoperiodism. It means how much daytime, how much night time is required for a plant to produce flowers is called as photoperiodism. It means this plant produces flowers only when this plant is exposed to a specific period of light. Only when this plant is exposed to a specific period of light, the plant produces flowers. It means light is required for plant to produce flowers. Yes or no? That to a specific duration, a specific period of light is required for a plant right, to produce flowers. Therefore, this is also an example for this statement. Yes or no? Environmental signals such as what here? Light. Okay, it is influencing certain stages or certain phases of what, sir? Growth. Is this statements okay? Right? With this we completed what, sir? Conditions for growth, right? Go for the next topic, differentiation. Differentiation, de-differentiation, and redifferentiation. What, sir? Differentiation, de-differentiation, redifferentiation. Go for the first one. What, sir? Differentiation. What it is? Differentiation. Now listen here. Sir, take a meristematic cell, sir. Which cell, sir? Meristematic cell. Take a meristematic cell. Sir, meristematic cell means can divide or cannot divide, sir? Can divide. Meristematic cell means can divide. Sir, when this meristematic cell divides, when meristematic cell divides, what it produces? New cells. Yes or no? Right? Sir, this produced new cells, right, they are losing dividing ability. This produced new cells loses what? Dividing ability. Loses dividing what, sir? Ability. Loses dividing ability either temporarily, or permanently. See this statement? Sir, these new cells produced, they are losing which ability, sir? Dividing ability. They are losing this dividing ability either temporarily or permanently, and changes to permanent cells. Is this statement okay? Therefore, after losing dividing ability either temporarily or permanently, they change it to which cells? Permanent cells. Sir, how these cells lost dividing ability, sir? These cells lost dividing ability due to minor and major changes that takes place in the cell wall and protoplasm. That has taken place in the cell wall and protoplasm, right? Therefore, due to what, sir? Minor and major. Minor and major changes ekkada, where? In what and what? In cell wall as well as in protoplasm. Cell wall as well as in what, sir? Protoplasm. Is this statement okay? Therefore take meristematic cell. Meristematic cell means can divide. When it divides, produces new cells. These newly produced cells, they are losing dividing ability either temporarily or permanently and changed to permanent cells. Is it okay? Sir, why they are losing this dividing ability? Due to minor and major changes in the cell wall and protoplasm. Due to minor and major changes in the what, sir? Cell wall and protoplasm. Is this statement okay? Therefore, what changed to what? Meristematic cells changed to permanent cells. This process is called as what, sir? Differentiation process. What is this process called as? Differentiation process. During differentiation process, the formed permanent tissue is primary permanent tissue. What is formed, sir? Primary permanent tissue is formed. Is this statement okay? Right? Therefore, during what, sir? Differentiation, what changed to what? During differentiation process, meristematic tissue has changed to primary permanent what, sir? Tissue. What, by which process? Differentiation process. By which process, sir? Differentiation process. So what is the product of differentiation, sir? Product of differentiation. Product of differentiation is primary permanent tissue. What is the product of differentiation, sir? Primary permanent tissue. Sir, this primary permanent tissue examples I am writing. First one is parenchyma. Second one is collenchyma. Third one is sclerenchyma. What's, sir? Sclerenchyma. Next one is primary xylem and primary phloem. Primary xylem and what more, sir? Primary phloem. Primary xylem and primary phloem. Next one is primary medullary race. Which race, sir? Primary medullary race. Therefore, parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, primary xylem, primary phloem, primary medullary race, all these are which tissues? Primary permanent tissues. It means all these are produced by which process? They are produced by differentiation process. They are produced by which process, sir? Differentiation process. Is it okay? Listen this statement. During formation, during what, sir? During formation of trachyary elements. During formation of what, sir? Trachyary elements. Sir, trachyary elements means what and what will come? Tracheids and xylem vessels. Tracheids as well as what, sir? Xylem vessels. During formation of trachyary elements, there is a tracheids and vessels. By which process? Differentiation process. By which process, sir? Differentiation process. Sir, when differentiation takes place, minor and major changes should take place in what, sir? Cell wall as well as protoplasm. Yes or no? What are the changes that takes place in cell wall? What are the changes that takes place in cell wall? Sir, cell wall becomes very strong. Cell wall becomes very strong, elastic. Lignocellulosic. What, sir? Lignocellulosic. Lignocellulosic means lignin is present, cellulose is present. Is it okay? Which cell walls are secondary cell wall? Therefore, during formation of tertiary elements, by which process? Differentiation process. How the cell wall becomes? Cell wall becomes very strong, elastic, lignocellulosic. It becomes a secondary cell wall. Then what are the changes in the protoplasm, sir? What are the changes in the protoplasm? Sir, protoplasm disappears. What disappears? Protoplasm disappears. Sir, why protoplasm has to disappear, sir? Because through tertiary elements, conduction of water and minerals takes place. If protoplasm is present, it obstructs the movement of water and minerals. Protoplasm obstructs the movement of water and minerals through tertiary elements. So, during formation of tertiary elements, protoplasm disappears. This statement is very, very important. During formation of tertiary elements, protoplasm disappears, because protoplasm obstructs the movement of water and minerals through tertiary elements. So, during the formation of tertiary elements, the protoplasm disappears. Protoplasm has to disappear. Is it okay? Right? Thank you.